Hello and welcome back, grade 2 students. I hope you guys are enjoying my science videos. Now today we're going to continue with Unit 5, Changes to Earth's Surface, Lesson 2, What Changes on Earth Happen Quickly, Part 3. For today we're going to cover the following points. Lesson 2, What Changes on Earth Happen Quickly. Explore, explain, landslides, page 250, 251, 252. Now we open to page 250, landslides. For today we're going to study about landslides. Already we have studied two main quick changes that might happen to Earth's surface, such as observe carefully the picture. What's happening? Excellent. We could observe that the soil is sliding down the hill. Let's check out. What is a landslide? A landslide is when rocks and soil slide down a hill, mountain, or other slope. Once a landslide starts, it moves fast. The rushing soil, rocks, and mud can run down a slope at 10 to 35 miles per hour. Look at the pictures to explore how a landslide changes Earth's surface quickly. So I'm going to reread, I'm going to take my time, I'm going to explain it, okay? So listen up carefully. Landslides. A landslide is when rocks and soil slide down a hill, mountain, or other slope. Once a landslide starts, it moves fast. The rushing soil, rocks, and mud can run down a slope at 10 to 35 miles per hour. Look at the pictures to explore how a landslide changes Earth's surface quickly. So, they're telling us that a landslide is when rocks, soil, what happens when the rocks and soil slide down a hill, okay, mountain, or other slope. Once the landslide starts, it moves fast. So when it happens, it directly moves quickly, and a lot of rocks and soil will slide down within really short period of time, causing a change to Earth's surface. They're telling us that the rushing soil, rocks, and mud can run down a slope at 10 to 35 miles per hour. Look at the pictures to explore how a landslide changes Earth's surface quickly. So they're telling us that once the landslide starts, it happens quickly, and once it happens quickly, the soil, rocks, and mud can run down a slope at 10 to 35 miles per hour, which is a really quick speed. So which means that a lot of soil, rocks, and soil could rush down through a slope. Okay, so the high point, from high point till down, we call it a slope. Okay, they could rush down the slope really quickly, causing a quick change to Earth's surface. Clear? So what is a landslide? Let's underline. A landslide is when rocks and soil slide down a hill, mountain, or other slope. Are we ready? So let's read it one more time. A landslide is when rocks and soil slide down a hill, mountain, or other slope. Let's go. A landslide is when rocks, soil, okay, or let's go. A landslide is when rocks and soil slide down a hill, mountain, or other slope. A landslide is when rocks and soil slide down a hill, mountain, or other slope. Again, a landslide is when rocks and soil slide down a hill, mountain, or other slope. A landslide is when rocks and soil slide down a hill, mountain, or other slope. Again, a landslide is when rocks and soil slide down a hill, mountain, or other slope. Again, a landslide is when rocks and soil slide down a hill, mountain, or other slope. Again, a landslide is when rocks and soil slide down a hill, mountain, or other slope. Again, a landslide is when rocks and soil slide down a hill, mountain, or other slope. Clear? Let's check these two pictures. What do we observe on page 250? Excellent. In the first picture, we could see the land next to the beach. Okay, so it's a coastline. And then what happened? Excellent. A landslide occurred, and we could see that the water changed. And a lot of soil, what happened? Excellent. It slid down the hill, and it reached the water. And the water, what happened to the water? Its color changed. Excellent. So it was pure blue. Then it changed into muddy water that has soil in it, turning into brown, right? So let's read to check what happened. A landslide starts when the soil and rocks on the side of a slope become too heavy and start to slide. Often, heavy rain triggers a landslide. So I'm going to read it one more time, then I'm going to explain. A landslide starts when the soil and rocks on the side of a slope become too heavy and start to slide. Often, heavy rain triggers a landslide. Are you guys ready? Again, a landslide starts when the soil and rocks on the side of a slope become too heavy and start to slide. Often, heavy rain triggers a landslide. So they're telling us that the landslide starts when the soil and rocks, what happened? Excellent, on the side of the slope, okay? What happens? Become too heavy. Why do they get too heavy? Because of the heavy rain, which makes the soil really heavy. Okay, so the soil becomes too heavy to hold the load of the water. So what happens? It starts to slide, causing a landslide. So the heavy rain triggers the landslide because the soil becomes too heavy and cannot stay in its place, so it starts to slide down, okay? Slide down the hill or the mountain or the other slope. Clear? Let's check what happened afterwards. A landslide moves a lot of land very quickly. Both the slope and the area around it change shape. Large areas can be buried or washed out. So I'm going to read it and I'm going to explain. A landslide moves a lot of land very quickly. Both the slope and the area around it change shape. Large areas can be buried or washed out. So they're telling us that once the landslide happens, it moves a lot of land very quickly, and you can see this, right? They're telling us about the slope, which means the top of the mountain, and the area around it changed the shape in this case, okay? So what happened? In this case, we could see that the top of the mountain, which is the slope, the high point where it's gonna start sliding, okay, where the soil and the rock would start sliding, what happened? Changed its shape, right? So here we could see that it was pointy over here, it became flat. Why? Because the pointy edge of it started to, or what happened? It slid down the hill, excellent, causing a change what to the shape of the slope and at the same time to the area around it. See, over here it was blue, you could see the water, bluish and very clear and everything is great. Over here it turned into brown due to the soil, right? Clear so far? Large areas can be buried or washed out. So a lot of areas could be buried under the soil, okay, or washed out. It means that the landslide carries it away, and you're gonna see the video attached in the instruction sheet under the title Landslides. You'll check how a lot of areas were buried completely under the soil after the landslides occurred. Clear? So far so good. Washed away, it means it was carried away. There's nothing anymore. Okay, why? Because the landslide carried this area away. It washed it away with it. Clear? So far so good. So one more time, what is a landslide? A landslide is when rocks and soil slide down a hill, mountain, or other slope. So a slope, guys, is a surface with one end higher than the other. It forms an angle, okay? See, one end is higher than the other. Landslide is when rocks and soil slide down a hill, mountain, or other slope. Clear? Great. So we move on. Whenever we see this sign, it means that a landslide might occur and we should be very careful. Why? Because if it rains heavily, there is a big chance that we'll have a landslide because the soil will become too heavy and it will start to slide down. Clear? Exercise time. Let's wear our thinking caps on. On page 251. What changes do landslides make to Earth's surface? Choose all correct answers. A. They start volcanoes and earthquakes. B. They change the shape of hills. C. They bury or wash out areas around a slope. Again, on page 251, let's read it. What changes do landslides make to Earth's surface? Choose all correct answers. Now, when they say choose all correct answers, it means you have more than one answer. A. They start volcanoes and earthquakes. B. They change the shape of hills. C. They bury or wash out areas around a slope. So what changes do landslides make to Earth's surface? Let's think. A. They start volcanoes and earthquakes? No. B. They change the shape of hills? Of course, because when the soil slides down, the shape of the hill will change. C. They bury or wash out areas around a slope? Indeed, so it is B and C. Clear? Apply what you know. Draw a picture of how a landslide causes changes to Earth's surface. Use evidence to describe the changes, which means observe what happened. You could say that the soil and the rocks slid down the hill, okay, and what happened when they slid down the hill? Because they changed the shape of the slope and the area around it. Clear? We move on to page 252. Look at the pictures of 3 types of fast changes to Earth. Draw a line to match each picture to the change it describes. We have rocks and soil rush down a slope, the ground shakes, lava, gas, and rocks erupt. So look at the pictures of the 3 types of fast changes to Earth. Draw a line to match each picture to the change it describes. Rocks and soil rush down a slope, the ground shakes, lava, gas, and rocks erupt. The first picture, what do you guys think? Excellent! It is what? The ground shakes. How do we know? Because we could see that the land is rising and falling and we have cracks, which means this is an earthquake. Excellent. The second picture, what do we observe? We see, excellent, that the lava cooled down and changed into rocks, which means, excellent, it is lava, gas, and rocks erupt when a volcano occurs. Rocks and soil rush down a slope. See, they rush down a slope and they cut the road. Clear? That's all. Thank you.